okay, how exactly do you make a 3D game? It's an important question. I used to want to make games, and in my brain, I would think, okay, 3D games are made with maybe a bunch of like modular pieces and they're all stuck together like walls and ceilings and windows and doors. It's kind of like that, but not exactly. But then I also thought, well, maybe they do everything in Blender. Maybe the whole map is designed in Blender. Everything is baked into one giant model. Well, it's not that either. It's actually kind of different than all those things. In fact, my buddy Jason Smith, he's the creator of Cultic, he showed me how his first-person shooter horror game, which is called Cultic, he showed me how it's all put together in Unity. There's a lot to learn here from an actual indie game developer who has overwhelmingly positive and very positive reviews for his games on Steam. So let's jump inside of Unity and take a look at Cultic. Dude, yes.
Are you seeing my? This is the bunker, the penultimate map, and it is a big boy.
Okay, one sec. I'm gonna turn on my fan. It's getting hot in here. It started getting really hot in here the moment you opened up Unity.
That's weird how that happens.
Oh, cool, dude. All right, take me through. And then I also want to see it in play mode, like so people can see like what it looks like behind the camera, which is crazy how much it'll change.
Yeah, let me open a map that's easier to visually parse, because this map is a mess of triggers and vertically stacked stuff. I'll open the first map in Cultic, which will be less spoilery too. So this is where's the spawn? Here's the spawn. So this is E1M1. This is the auto map is kind of overlaid on everything right now. So I'll just turn that off. So yes, this is just in like Unity's flat shading. So this doesn't have Cultic's color palette applied to it, but all of Cultic's texture work is done using the color palette. So
wait, how's the color palette applied?
It's just a post-processing like color lookup table. So it basically it's just quantizing quantite. It's a color limiter.
The right word, yeah.
So yeah, and so these are like these brush-based interiors are like what we were using Realtime CSG for. I don't know if any of these are.
Bro, can I see it in play mode without the quantizing?
Yeah.
I want to see how bad it looks. And I'm not trying to be mean. That's how it's this way.
No,
with every
I
game
feel the same way. It kills me when I see people play Cultic without the palette.
They can turn it off in the options.
Yeah. Let me maximize this too. Okay, so this is palette on the new palette, the V5 palette, and then actually let me get to somewhere where the lighting is a little more significant. We'll go out here where the palette's a little more pronounced. Okay, and we'll turn on the lighter too, because you can really see the lighting on the ground. So this is palette on. We'll go and turn the palette. Actually, first, so you can roll back to earlier versions of Cultic's palette. Bro. So this is the original palette.
It looks like the first one.
Yeah. This is the OG palette, and then I think V2 was what 1.0 launched with. We're going the wrong direction here.
That's so fun.
So V2 is what Chapter 1 originally launched with. Is this palette here?
Why did you change it?
It's pretty much just anytime I identify a significant gap in the color palette, I add something into it. Yeah. So like you can see here that like this asphalt below me, which is actually a pretty detailed texture, is just like 2 shades of brown basically.
Yeah.
And then when we switch back to the version 5 palette, you'll see wrong direction again. You'll see like how much more detail pops up in it.
Yeah, but you can't do too much because then it won't feel retro.
Right. And then so then this we'll turn it off entirely.
Yeah, let's see it off.
Color filtering. We'll turn off dithering too. So with it off, it
looks great.
Yes, I'm proud of the texture work I did, but like this just so much looks like the standard Unity shader, because it is. This is all just standard Unity specular without. So like with this turned off, I die on the inside. It kills me so much. It's just like you lose. But it's like the option is there for a reason. I get that people won't like the palette. The palette has been kind of polarizing and controversial since day one, so it's fine. But still, just like what you're, it's like you like if you play the original Doom with texture filtering where everything is smoothed together, like it's a completely different look. And
let's zoom out now from it. Now that we've seen this, can we zoom out that same location? Yeah, and I'm not doing this because I'm trying to be controlling. I just know my audience they're going to like to see the difference between what it looks like in editor. That's so cool, Jason.
Yeah, so this is the big terrain blob of the map.
Yep.
And then the area that we were just in here is the sun. And there's all these giant boxy, these are all just like ambient sound and light triggers, basically.
What tool is that? Is that
That
Fmod?
that's just a cube.
I know,
And
but oh, it's just a trigger. I see. It triggers
yeah,
the new music.
yeah, I just have I just have a script that fades between light and audio zones.
Sweet.
And so yeah, so this is the area we just spawned in. It's all we can turn on the actual lighting too. Yep. These are so one of the big optimizations with chapter 2 was consolidating lights. So like before, like both of these lights had their own point light on them, and now there's one larger point light that's in between them, and then they're just tied together. So if you break both of these lights, the light goes away.
This is a big noob mistake that a lot of new 3D game developers make. They think every light needs a point light.
Oh yeah, no, this is I was I was very guilty of this. That was one of the biggest optimizations. But it also looks
exactly same here, and everything has a shadow. Now for me, it's like I found that one light looks way better than 5 because it's much more cinematic. You know,
originally on this part of map 2, every single one of these point lights, every single one of these light fixtures had a point light on it, and there was like 36 point lights on this structure alone. And so this like very low poly area was generating like 600,000 vertices or triangles.
Yep.
And so now it's like this point light controls all 6 of these.
Yes.
And these, these ones control. And so that was like stuff like that was a huge game changer for optimization.
And they're also are they occluding out as well?
Yeah. So like this,
they have a script on them, or are these tagged?
Cube? Yeah. So this cube here, basically, let me bring the inspector back. So this has a light portaling script on it that controls. I guess that's not those lights. Anyway, so like it's just a class I wrote that's called Light Portal, and it has a list of lights. And then any light that you drag, so like this is controlling like this light, and then like this little burn barrel over here.
Cool.
And so whatever's in that list, when you enter this square, it turns on, and when you leave the square, it turns off.
Does it fade them in, or does it just pop them in?
There's a little float here that controls how fast they fade in or out.
Yeah.
So for like entering like a cave, like if you're walking into like this cave over here, the light fade is really slow. It happens over like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
But for areas where it's like once you walk through a doorway, all of the lights inside, it's like 30 frames and they're gone.
Now, if people, just so people who are aware or listening, I want them to be aware, this is not some trivial optimization. Like this is huge,
right?
Especially if they have got shadows,
right? Since since Cultic is completely real time lit, because I hate light baking.
I do too, and it also doesn't look very good because you lose your specular and metallic. Light baking isn't as bad. I sound like a know-it-all. I'm sorry.
No, but you're fine.
I've just been through the baking process with specular and metallic, and I'm not sure you have.
I've tried baking a couple of times, and in both times I was like, this is awful. I don't want to I don't like the workflow of baking.
Not only is baking hard with just a standard albedo, you lose specular and metallic values. They're gone. They're wiped when you bake. And so you have to place a bunch of probes all over the place.
Right.
There's no such thing as a metallic probe, as far as I'm aware. So metallic values are gone. And so if you, let's say you have a metallic map on, let's say your crates, all of your crates are going to be black if they have metallic values. So you have to trick Unity, because Unity doesn't have a way to bake metallic probes. So, and if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. If people are listening, just because I want to learn and I want to know, but that's my experience.
Another big optimization that something I just didn't know about actually until like this last year was my thought process was that like if a point light, like obviously way out here at the edge of your point light is when it's not really going to be affecting anything. But my thought was like right now, this big cliff mesh here is getting re-rendered by this light because they're touching. And my thought was that like if the light doesn't touch the mesh at all, then it doesn't re-render it. And that is not correct. If any part of this circle touches the bounding box of this mesh, which would be which would basically be like, oh God, I didn't mean to do that. Which would basically be like a big, like if you think of it like a giant square, the bounding box, if any part of it touches the bounding box, which means that before, this entire map, all of this terrain was one mesh because it's relatively low poly. So like this entire mesh was like 1,700 triangles. And that's not a big deal until every single point light in the map is re-rendering it. And so suddenly this 1,700 triangle mesh is getting rendered 60 times and then more with shadows. And so then it turns into like 100K. At any given time, I'm losing 100,000 triangles to just the terrain. And so like the terrain wound up getting broken up into multiple meshes that are all occluded separately. And like that was a huge optimization. I just didn't know it worked that way. So like real-time lighting, I love working with real-time lighting because it's like what you see is what you get. You don't have to sit through 8-hour long, 20-hour long bake times only for there to be some artifact you have to go and clean up and do it all over again.
Exactly.
And then like you said, you lose a lot of that real-time specular metallic data, which is really frustrating.
Yep. What's so funny is I spent 3 months maybe with Felipe learning light mapping and implementing it to every single level. And by implementing, what we had to do was we had to mark all of the correct objects as static because you can't light map things that aren't static. And that's a huge undertaking. And then we also had to place all of our probes. Also, we have like, let's say 200 lights in a scene. We have to mark the ones that are baked as baked, the ones that are mixed as mixed. And by the way, mixed, for the people who don't know, mixed lighting is the shadows can be dynamic, but the light source itself cannot. I can't remember.
I think it's that the light contributes to.
That's also correct, GI. But
so like if this barrel fire here were mixed, then it would apply to the baked map. But then it would also apply real time to dynamic objects.
That's right. And then also, finally, you have to figure out what you want it to be dynamic. I think
that's how it works.
Well, for us to know everything, it would be ridiculous expectation. But I'm going off of memory here. And then finally, you have your dynamic lights or your real-time lights, which can move and they affect all objects, including static objects. So we did all of that only to find that the real culprit was shadows. That was the real culprit. And so all I did was I turned off all the shadows, except for a few that were important. And I had people say, "Oh, Thomas, that's terrible. Don't do that." But then I'd have testers play the game, and they had no idea that the shadows were even off.
You want to see how same conclusion, realizing that when I'm pushing 2.8 million triangles on Fairgrounds, that almost half of it is shadows, and it's like, this is Fairgrounds, the biggest map of Chapter 2.
It's
cool, it's a
Jason.
monster. But so what I did, which is like the same kind of cheat, was I was like, okay, well, when you are running this map, there is a fog that limits your render distance because it's snowing. It's supposed to be like a snowy map. B, I am cheating because I don't want to render more than I have to. And like all of these big orange cubes, these are all giant occlusion volumes that are just blocking your view of different parts of the map. to like brute force, because like when you're walking around on the ground level, you can like see through these fences, you can see through these trees. So what I also found out was, instead of turning off shadows altogether, you can limit how far away they render. And so this fog at like 50 meters away from the player, you can't see through this fog. So I just made it so shadows don't render past 50 meters away.
Do you know what your draw distance for your shadows are right now?
In this map, it's 50 meters is what it's clamped to.
That's what it is in Twisted Tower. It's a 50 or 60.
Yeah.
This is why, for everybody, most people know this, but if you don't know this, it's a fun fact, why so many 90s games loved fog, right? And early 2000s games. This is why like high fog feels nostalgic. It's because they have to use it. They have to cull things out at a very close distance.
Yeah.
So Silent Hill must have been an easy game to make, at least when it comes to like optimization, because they just had dense fog, 20, 30 meters away from the player.
Yeah. And like, and definitely the quote unquote, I guess, right thing to do, would have been to go through and individually all of these meshes, like make sure that everything. So like a lot of the meshes in this map are combined so that they're only doing one. Like if there's like, if you're in this area, there's no way that you're like not going to be seeing these buildings. And so they're just merged together, because what you in game in optimization, at least in Unity, you've got what you call draw calls, which is basically every time if you think of your GPU as like, like an artist with like a paint palette, and every time you want to change colors, he has to like wash his brush off, change to a different brush, and then paint. And that's kind of what a draw call is. It's basically the GPU putting its current tool down and picking up a different one. And so these houses all together are the same amount of triangles either way, but it can either be one draw call where it just draws all of them at once and then the GPU is done, or it can be the GPU has to switch tools every single time. And there's probably like a graphics programmer out there who's like, that, what an idiot. That is not how it works.
That is so true. Both things you said are true. I believe what you said about the draw calls are true, but there is always someone who understands draw calls better.
Oh, sure.
Because I've had meetings with advisors with optimization. I'm like, please help me understand draw calls. And so we'll sit and we'll do a whole meeting about how to optimize draw calls, and I'll do everything that they said to do, and we'll merge meshes, all this stuff, and then the draw calls are the same. And it's like, what is happening? So all I found was if you want low hanging fruit with optimization, kill the shadows, kill them, and just do one light that has a really cool shadow. Like, for example, a shadow of that Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And
so like
the shadow.
This area used to have like each of these strands of lights had its own point, not each bulb, but each line had its own point light. And then the tree had its own point light. And then these lamps had their own point light. And then these barrels had their own point light. And so when you walk into this area, your frame rate just like gets cut in half.
Yeah.
And just because it's like you have to render like all of this stuff, you have to render all these props. And Cultic's voxel models are really expensive because they have a lot of little triangles in there. And so this area was tough. And so it came down to like meshing all of these together so that they render one time, and they aren't, because otherwise it's like every single point light that touches these renders them. But there's times you don't want to do that. Like, let's fly. I'm gonna turn lighting back off. I'm gonna fly way over here. We'll do like I don't remember. Okay, so these houses are all cold. These ones are not all combined together, because in this case, if you're standing right here, you can't see any of these buildings. And so these can be culled out separately.
Yes.
But if you're standing over here, you can see these ones, but like, you might not necessarily be able to see this one or this one. And so like this was a situation where it didn't really seem like, no matter where I stood here when they were all meshed together, I was never saving anything. But because of how tall these tents are and how tall these buildings are and how tall these trees are, quite frequently I could be in a spot where I only have to render one of these buildings at a time. Like if I'm standing here, I only need to render like maybe these two buildings because I can't see these at all. And so in that case, merging these together wasn't saving me anything. But yeah, this map sucked to optimize. It took so many passes.
Can we shift gears and take a look at an interior? Because interiors are different.
Yeah.
At least in my experience. By the way, I wanted to say, it's gonna, when Twisted Tower comes out, it's gonna look like I ripped you off. Okay, I'm just gonna say it out loud. We have a level called Fairground Forest, and we made it a year and a half ago. So either one of us ripped each other off, or neither of us did, which that's my assumption.
We conspired together to rip each other off.
So I have a forest level in Twisted Tower, which is like carnival tents and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry if it looks that way, but that's what
every game inspires something else.
Well, I didn't see this, is what I'm saying. I had no idea.
Okay.
I had no idea.
I believe you. Don't worry. So we'll go the opposite direction. So the fairgrounds was this massive, sprawling, wide open map, and then this is the Manor, which is Nick's baby. This was pretty much his map. That was.
Does Nick love Castlevania 64?
Nick loves Resident Evil.
Okay.
So
this feels like the villa in Castlevania 64. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I decorated it, did the texturing, set up the encounters, blah blah blah. But the layout was all him. I'm gonna turn the auto map off so we can see what we're looking at.
It looks so good, Jason. I love this Victorian flair. Oh
yeah, and this map was like almost all original assets. Like almost everything in the Manor I had to make for the Manor. Like I didn't have these wooden doors or this wooden trim or because like everything in Cultic up to this point had mostly been like run down, dilapidated structures. But then we're like, okay, well, if we want to make a fancy Resident Evil mansion, like we're just gonna have to make a bunch of stuff. But so yeah, we'll do in editor here for
Yeah,
this
I want to
map.
see how it looks, and then can you talk to us eventually about how I'm going to assume that this is not all
Let me
modular.
turn the palette back on.
That
No, that would have been way
a
too
a
easy.
lot of Unreal developers, and I hate to call out Unreal developers, everything's modular.
Mm-hmm.
They've got like a billion walls that are making a room.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to talk about how you're putting this together. I'm sure
Yeah.
some of it's modular.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of it's dressing, and a lot of it is just big fat meshes.
I mean,
For an entire hallway or an entire room is an entire mesh. This looks incredible, dude. Oh, I love this aesthetic. See, this is what I was talking about earlier. How don't throw your. I'm not saying you're gonna, but don't forget what your forte is. This looks so good, dude.
Yeah, the Manor was a ton of fun. But so the Manor is like the opposite. I'm gonna leave play mode again so I get some frame rate back. The Manor is the polar opposite of actually I lied. I can show you this in the auto map and then you'll actually see what the layout looks like.
Oh, sweet. You want to show off your auto map?
I do. Well, it's easier than trying to look through all the ceilings and triggers and so we'll just do a full map reveal here. And I could turn the auto map back on would also help a lot with that because I switched it off so we could see.
Oh, right. Yeah, you need that.
Yeah, turning auto map back on is a big help. And then I have to re-reveal it. And then maximize my view. Okay. So here's the Manor, and it's all unexplored, so it's all a dark color, but so this is the extremely tight interior of the Manor. Like that dining room that I was just showing off, that is this room here. I'm gonna increase the size of my culling here. So that's the dining room that we were just in, is this relatively small room here.
Yeah.
And then I'll turn the mask back off. So that, and then this is the whole of the Manor. So it's very tight, very compact, a lot of rooms. Surprisingly, it's a pretty linear map, all things considered. But yeah, so this is just what Nick is really good at, is like just like connecting box to box to box to box.
Yes.
And just like throwing these areas together. That's just
if he likes Resident Evil, it explains a lot, because the whole fun of Resident Evil is, I guess, backtracking and going to old rooms that you remember, and revisiting areas. It's so exciting.
And then it's still got an outdoor segment, so we still got to play around with like some.
You have a directional light, or is it just ambient lighting?
There is a directional for outdoors for getting
turn on.
Yes. So like I wanted to be able to get these shadows through this lattice, and so like that I had to get from a directional light. Okay. But yeah, if you're like inside certain zones of the Manor, like if you're in a room like this, this light zone will disable the directional light because you can't see it, and the directional light creates a bajillion shadows no matter what.
Well, show me really quick, Jason, how you're putting this level together. What are the various chunks and pieces?
Yeah, so there is a lot of stuff that is prefabbed in terms of decorations. Like let's go in here. So like this table is a prefab. These suits of armors are prefab. So like at any point in time, for prop work, I can drag I can drag one of these in here and put it wherever, and cost myself a bunch of frames because these voxels have a bajillion triangles in them. But then like the map itself is what we used Realtime CSG for. And I have to convert it back to a usable model real quick, which Unity is really going to enjoy. Okay, so when it's in an edible state, these are all brushes. So this you can just kind of like click and drag, and it's all Boolean. So like if I wanted to add a window here that looked outside, you just make a box and I drag it out, and hey, look, now I've got a window. And of course, I still have to texture it and would have to redo collisions for it. But this workflow of just being able to like punch a door or a window wherever is awesome for a game like this. The downside being that besides Realtime CSG being unsupported and really buggy now, is that you are kind of limited to this kind of relatively low poly geometry. Like, let me pull up a tab here of like the Hammer editor. So the Hammer editor that Valve uses for Source games is very similar. It is also brush based, but of course this was used to make like Left 4 Dead. Actually, let's see if there's
explain to people listening what you mean by brush based.
Right. So it's every single one of these shapes is called is referred to as a brush. Stop selecting my light zones. Stop it. That's the other problem. These big triggers is like, did you want to click on this? No, I did not want to click on that. Okay, I'm just going to disable all these light zones because they're killing me. So like, yeah, so like each this room. Oh my lord! Stop selecting my triggers. Like every single shape here. So like this shape here is a big subtractive brush. So like this dining room. So Nick did all of these, and his workflow is a little different than mine. But like this dining room here probably started as one big additive cube.
Yes.
And then this is a smaller subtractive brush that cuts out from the middle of it. And then like these pillars are additive cylinders, but they are also brushes. So this is Boolean geometry where you're just adding and subtracting versus like Pro Builder or modeling in Blender where you're like you are permanently changing geometry. Like if you wanted to cut that window out of this wall, in this case where this is what we would call construct. That's what CSG stands for. I think it's constructive solid geometry. Is because it's constructive. It's kind of like working with layers in Photoshop. Instead of directly painting onto something, I can paint onto a layer, and I can move that layer around. I can edit that layer, or I can just delete it, and my base product is not changed.
The end result will likely be the same as the end result of a Pro Builder mesh, in the sense that how it's being achieved is using loop cuts and extrusions and cutting off faces and stuff.
Right.
Faces. But it means that it's non-destructive. Now, do you end up baking it basically and removing the brushes?
Well, so the brushes stay like they exist, but yeah, when you're done, there's this export to Unity Mesh, and that basically turns it into, it basically takes every material, so every different texture, and turns that into its own mesh. And so that's how I go through and assign like collision materials, so that when you're walking on this wooden floor, it plays wooden floor sound effects because that floor is tagged as a wooden object. And so like the hammer editor, like Left 4 Dead, for example, if you like, we'll look at this screenshot. So like this big like air conditioning unit, these boxes on the wall, this air conditioner up here, the stairwell, those are all prefabs. And Cultic uses some of this too. Like I have stairs, because stairs are a nightmare to do using brushes. So like I have like this like little like wooden stair or metal stairs prefab that I use. And so that is just a mesh. And so they're aligned on a grid, so I can just snap them together super quickly whenever Unity unfreezes. But yeah, so like I have prefabs like that I can use, because there's some stuff like this. I'm not going to build this suit of armor out of brushes. That would be a mess. Like I'm not going to build, like some of this stuff out of mesh or out of brushes. And so that's kind of, but then like this building here, even though it has like a high def texture with like normal mapping, it's a cube. Like you can see it's a cube. Like this helicopter pad, it's a cube. This building is a cube. And so that's where you go back. I don't know if they have like a editor view of it, but yeah, like Hammer Editor is a more capable version of Realtime CSG. And so I would love to use a tool like this, and Unreal is getting one in the form of the Scythe editor, which is awesome, and I'm super jealous that they get to have that.
Golly, where is Unity?
Golly. Oh, so yeah, here's like a Left 4 Dead custom map that you can see. And so like you can see here, like this is a building, and it's like it's a cube and it's a triangle roof. And yeah, it's and this is looking at it in a very chaotic view, but it's the same thing. So yeah, Cultic I do use prefabs. I do have stuff, like this. That's a prefab. I made it in Blender. I just drag it and drop it here. But when it comes to building rooms and cutting out doorways and just iterating on that, all of this is brushwork, because trying to do this, where like if we were doing this in Blender and I decided instead of this room just having a flat square corner, I'm going to add these two pillars and this diagonal, and I'm going to add this rounded platform. If I decided I didn't like any of that, and I don't have enough undo states to go backwards, or I didn't save a backup of it, I have to like delete all of these vertices and reconnect these and redo all the UV mapping. But with this constructive solid geometry with brushes, I just delete the brushes and then it's back to where it was before, which is super duper helpful. But I don't know how well that will scale to a high depth. Like I don't know how well you could even do this with like Twisted Tower, like to where you're saying.
Dude, this is the same thing. In fact, I was going to argue with you about that, actually. You mentioned earlier, you were like, I don't know how helpful this would be for a high fidelity game.
Right.
I think high fidelity games are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I think they're starting with ceilings, floors, and walls, and it's all just flat. It's either quads or cubes, and the set dressing is what makes the texture fidelity and the set dressing is what makes it look good.
Yeah.
But dude, there are so many asset packs on the Unity Asset Store, and also the Unreal, whatever the Unreal Asset Store is, where the walls, ceilings, and floors are also prefabs.
Sure.
And, and that is a nightmare to work with. And so to everybody listening, you've got to start with a base mesh that is similar to what Jace is doing.
Well, and I think like even like Elder Scrolls, I think like in like Skyrim even, I don't know if I could find a good picture of it, but a lot of like Skyrim's dungeons, like the caves are also modular. Like they just have these like rocky tunnels and ceilings, and they kind of just like stitch them together, and that's how they make, all of these instances like so quickly. Like you can look at, I think this is not from Skyrim, maybe it is, but it's like a lot of it if you break it down into assets, it's a lot of large boulders and large like just like generic ground pieces, like outdoors. Like we'll take this example, there is a terrain mesh here that is the flat outdoor terrain, but then like this cave is like this rock here is probably a prefab, this rock is a prefab, these little cliffs that stick out are prefabs, and it's all just sitting on a terrain mesh, and the textures are blended together in a way that makes it look like this is all just like one hand modeled thing.
That's right.
And so, yeah, I mean, there's just like a middle ground, because like for a lot of Twisted Tower or any game, like, cause like I said, like Left 4 Dead, which that was a 360 era game. And so it's definitely not like a retro shooter. But if you kind of stand back and look at it, a lot of the rooms, like you said about set dressing, like this room I'm standing in, it looks like a living room in an apartment. But if I like mentally delete the furniture and the light fixtures and everything, it's a square. Like the room is a cube. And then it's just between like the textures on the walls have molding, like molding on the top and bottom. And then like the floor has like garbage textures on it to make it look like it's cluttered. And then you've got furniture so like, I don't know. I would love to keep using real-time CSG, but unfortunately supposedly it doesn't work at all in Unity 6.
I would say whatever your decision is, just from experience using Pro Builder, which is destructive, it's not a Boolean based level designer. I would say use Boolean based. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I can't believe we made Twisted Tower without this tool. I don't know what we were thinking.
Well, it definitely has its downsides, especially because like to give an example, like this little door molding thing, right? Like this would have been a gigantic pain in the butt to build for every single doorway. And so that I was like, no, I'm just going to model it in Blender and use it as a prefab. And so like the higher fidelity your game world is, the more often you'll have to do stuff like that. And I imagine there's a certain point where it's not worth it to do CSG anymore, because like you're just like, it's like every other thing you do, you're having to build from scratch.
Well, this is I kind of disagree with you, and I don't know what the industry standard is, especially AAA, but Boolean, the whole reason Boolean is effective is because it allows for iterative level design.
Yeah, that's true.
You're never gonna get a good idea of if your level design is perfect until, like, you're not gonna get it right the first time, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so you need to be able to adjust and change things. But anyway, dude, I've got to pee.
You've been holding it for 3 hours, huh?
I have. But this has been an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for your time. Every time you come on, it's so much fun. I mean, obviously, this is the longest podcast I've done. This by far. This one's the longest one. So congratulations.
Yeah, you can't have Midwesterners on here and expect me to not talk for forever.
I know, I love it. All right, man. Well, hey, what do you want in the description? You want any links in the description?
You know what? I think we're good for now. You can, if you've got my Twitter link in there, we'll be good.
Okay. You don't want chapter 2 in there?
No. Well, we'll let people. They can play chapter 1 first, and then they'll decide if they want to play chapter 2. So especially with the warning they've gotten now that it is scarier and harder and not exactly the same experience.
Cool. All right, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, it's always fun chatting. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah. Bye.